Anyone who's ever seen Sword Art Online, Log Horizon, hell, Tron, has dreamt of the possibilities of playing their favorite MMORPG virtually as if they were there. Instead of sitting in a computer casting Frostbolt as your freshly minted undead mage, you could swirl your hands at your sides while drawing on some inner energy to blast the cold from your fingertips. When your health dropped low, you could reach down and chug a potion at your belt rather than just slamming a key. With the introduction of VR, it finally feels like that dream could be within reach. So does Orbus VR, the first MMORPG on the platform, deliver on those unbelievable expectations? Do I truly feel like I am in the game? So hey guys, it's Un4Games, and I can't express enough how excited this game has me for the future of VR. At first glance, its simple graphic style, small number of classes, and limited depth made me think I would quickly become bored by the experience. Compared to a polished and complete game like Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, I wasn't sure how Orbus could deliver any kind of meaningful enjoyment. And it's because of how limited it is in its current state that I'm so thrilled, because even with the lack of talent trees, complex gear progression, fluid animation, or numerous beautifully rendered zones, I still can't stop thinking about it. My first interaction with the game was with the standard tutorial NPC, and to start a dialogue with him, you wave, not with a button or a typed emote for various gestures, but by actually waving your hand. It's hard to explain why such a simple change is so initially exciting, and while I hope for further options down the line, a generally human way of starting a conversation is a first for me in MMOs. I hope someday I can say something like, "Hey NPC," or hopefully he has a name, or tap him on the shoulder, or even slap him and get different reactions. That kind of stuff would be amazing. But yeah, for now, waving is pretty cool. He explains movement and combat and menu navigation, and it's during this tutorial where the world started to become alive for me. So to give an example, to take out my sword, I have to reach over my shoulder with my hand and grab it, pulling it from its imaginary sheath. The shield likewise from the other hand and opposite shoulder, and then it's all block, block, swing, swing with your actual hands. Now that's standard VR stuff. Different combination of swings perform different abilities like taunts, which is a cool implementation of that kind of thing, but it isn't really where the magic is. Every time you engage an enemy, you have to reach back and pull out that sword. Every time you finish, you have to put it away, so that you can reach down and pick up the loot that was dropped and toss it in your bag. If you're surprised by an attack from behind you, you still need to draw your weapon if you didn't just have it out while you were running. And if you don't grab the loot after the fight, it remains there on the ground until presumably it vanishes after some period of time. This is the same with the bow or the wand or the rifle, each putting their own cool VR twist on how to use various abilities or spells. So I can hear you saying like, so what, that just sounds like all the VR experiences that we've witnessed in YouTube videos and everything else. But hang with me for a second. There's a compass that hangs off your chest that has points of interest around its exterior. To determine what direction you're moving, you have to physically take out the compass and hold it in front of you, spinning your point of reference until you're facing whatever you want to see. But you actually turn your body as you watch the compass changing. There are no quest markers or guidelines. You have to use the information provided to you to figure out your next step. Turning it upside down opens your floating journal with quests you've currently undertaken, maps, game instructions on the classes, or other useful techniques you've been taught. To navigate through that journal, you have to flip through the pages with your actual hands like it's a real book, and you can move it around by grabbing it and floating it around through space. Once you're done, you have to grab the book and put it back in your backpack by reaching over your shoulder, just like every other item that you're interacting with. All these simple changes made inventory management kind of fun because you're always like actually feeling like you're putting it into your bag. If that sounds like the dumbest thing in the world, I get it, but there's a simple change and something far more rewarding when every time you finally get that little rabbit hair skin drop, you actually have to reach down and put it into your sack instead of just like, automatically retrieving it. So then as I entered into the world at large, I was finally surrounded by avatars of other players. Many actually turned to look at me as I walked by, like their heads would turn. You could see their eyes looking you over and then glancing back to whatever they were doing. Some were talking to each other through voice chat that grew louder as I got closer and then fainter as I moved away. And I felt rude for ignoring people that were trying to address me. While in many MMOs somebody standing still might seem like they're AFK or not really paying attention to the game, it's impossible to not act like you're there in VR because every glance, subtle movement, or action you take is very clearly being done by you. It's not just some AFK nonsense that's automatically playing through. With that kind of presence of yourself and others, it's difficult not to engage in some way. It's like someone shouting, "Hey you," at a grocery store while waving their hands in your face. Sure, you can ignore them, but it feels sort of weird to not acknowledge them at all. And that's part of the point. While most modern MMOs have made it harder and harder to find a reason to actually communicate with another player, VR just naturally does the opposite.
It's a beautiful day for fishing, fellas? Yeah. I'm just trying to get the green belly things or whatever for that quest.
I will now
Sell
trade
them
you
for 100
two
gold
sunfish.
each.
2 sunfish for that. Bass. How about that?
My first quest drove me to the other side of town, on which I passed numerous NPCs, other players, saw an airship flying overhead, standard MMO stuff. After my first successful kill, I had to walk back and get another quest, which sent me back the same way. And it suddenly hit me. In VR, I can't sit back and occasionally check my direction while beelining it to the next location. There is no auto-pathing, no run to the objective, no auto-run at all. You're either present and acting in the game or you're not. What that means is all of a sudden running to the other side of town is actually about as annoying as it is in real life. You don't really want to do it needlessly, so you think carefully about your next actions before just charging off into the distance. For years, many have been saying that they wish that travel was more meaningful in MMOs again, that the space felt larger again. VR just naturally has achieved this without even really meaning to. And none of these quests are game-changing. Get 3 stag meats, harvest some plants, the standard MMO affair. But when I needed to craft a lure for fishing, I had to walk to my house with ingredients and poke them on the hook myself. Each lure I wanted to craft I had to do by hand before heading back down to the shore to cast a line. Other people at the beach were standing around laughing at each other trying to get the cast down right, and then started chatting about what kind of fish everyone was catching, or possible trades of like bass for some other ingredient. It was natural and fun conversation because you see people around you doing something similar and everybody wants to talk about it. Sure, there are teleports and home point warping from what I can see, and you gather them as slowly as you engage in the game, like most games, but they're made all the more meaningful by how much dedication is involved in motion. Which isn't perfect, by the way. I mean, the problem of general locomotion is one of VR's biggest concerns right now. While Orbus does a valiant job of making it approachable, either through standard stick-based movement or teleportation at your own choice, they can be either slightly jarring or nauseating or both. I'm getting more and more used to it, and it's far from a deal breaker for me, but it's certainly something that VR will have to solve eventually, because I don't think the current solutions are for everyone. When I saw a signpost as I was walking down the road, I stopped and moved closer to it, looking at each directional post for more details of the world I was traveling through. I wanted to understand where I was in the world and how to get to other places. How many times can you say that you stopped at a signpost in a game when it was just like rendered on your screen? Almost never. If it was even usable, you probably had to target it and click it to actually get some kind of legible text. I legitimately was lost and saw the signpost, and yes, I have a map, but I wanted to look at the signpost, and I looked up to the left and the right, any kind of name, city, place that I would recognize. Crafting a potion had me actually throwing ingredients into a pot and carefully timing dipping the bottle into the concoction to form my brew, all of which I screwed up on the first try. What I'm trying to get across is that every little boring MMO thing we've been doing for the past 15 to 20 years has such more significant meaning in VR because you can't just hit a button to do it. It reminds me so much of that initial experience with my first MMORPG, paying close attention to every detail, asking other players about how stuff works, because the little aspects of everything matter again. Socially, it's just a totally different experience, with players chatting on the fly, asking questions. By nature of VR in its current state, Googling is a little difficult. You'd have to take off the headset or at the very least be running some kind of third-party application to have a 3D window in-game. Either way, it's probably simpler to just ask somebody running by or someone who looks like they're doing similar things that probably already has the answers that you're looking for. And you know what they're doing because all of it involves virtually interacting with the world around you. You can see them doing it. If they're fishing on your screen. And when you walk up, they'll turn to look at you. You know if they're interacting with you or just ignoring you. I haven't myself gotten to any large group events, but I'm thrilled to get there because my general point is that with everything being so much fun while still so simple, I can't wait to see what happens when some more complexity and polish get added. With the Musketeer, if the basic idea of aiming and shooting heals at somebody by loading my gun with healing ammo is so cool, what happens when that's part of a fully fleshed out MMO experience? Now with that, I'm not by any means saying that Orbus is a bad game, just that it's still early in its development, and that there's a lot of work that they still want to do, and that's fine. Having as much fun as I am now though, I can't wait to see where the genre is going. Imagine if instead of all the amazing MMOs that we currently have available and have played over the course of our lifetime, there was one experience out there regardless of genre, type, various approaches to skills and talents and everything else. That's where we are with VR right now. There's only one game, and I'm having a ton of fun with it, but I can't wait to see when there are more options and when that game is fully complete. But let me know your thoughts. Are MMOs a genre that fit VR perfectly with their focus on exploration and socialization, or will it never really match the rush of a tactical third-person perspective like some of the more popular games we've all enjoyed? Does VR need a little more time to mature, or is it ready now and just waiting for the games to appear? Excited to find out, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, you should totally think about subscribing. I've got videos coming out twice a week, and if you like this one, there's at least a chance you'll like some of the others that are very similar to this, so live dangerously. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments and other videos you'd like to see. And finally, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Huntin for Games to keep up with all the latest stuff. See ya.